Good afternoon, everybody. Y'all sound like you're not at a graduation. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
And greetings to our dean, our faculty, our alumni, the class of 2025, and all those who came to celebrate this tremendous occasion. Let's give us all a round of applause. I would like to first begin by thanking God for carrying me this far. It has been a mighty long way. And I would also like to thank my family for pouring so much love into me. And I'd like to thank my elders and my ancestors for making moments like this possible for people who look like me. To my classmates, I want to say thank you, not only for electing me to speak today, but for being in community with me throughout these 3 years. We grew close because we struggled together. We laughed together. We learned a lot together, and we embarked on a terrifying journey called law school together, and now here we are celebrating together. We've earned this moment. The class of 2025, I regret to say that we are becoming lawyers in a very troubling time in our nation. I wish this wasn't the case, but our democracy and the very concept of justice itself is being challenged. And these challenges loomed over our heads as we embarked on this journey throughout our law school careers. In many ways, these challenges made our education full of contradictions. That on the one hand, as we learned about how the law is supposed to work, we also saw how many of those laws are being challenged and attacked by our federal government. As we spent hours in class studying due process, we saw an administration deny due process to innocent people who were sent to a prison in El Salvador with no hope of returning. As we learned about the affirmative action laws and policies that helped overturn a century of racial apartheid, we saw many of those same laws and policies get overturned. As we studied criminal procedure and learned about the different theories of punishment, we saw a president who, despite having been found guilty of 34 felonies, evaded every punishment model we learned about. And as we learned about our ethical duties to the court, we saw an administration openly defy a unanimous Supreme Court decision. Class of 2025, our education has been full of contradictions indeed. And when people have been brave enough to stand up to those contradictions, or just to stand up for the rule of law and what's right, many of them have been threatened and punished. Students have had their visas revoked for exercising their First Amendment rights. Judges have been arrested by the FBI, including Judge Dugan out of the Milwaukee County Circuit Court in her own courtroom. Law firms have been coerced to represent clients that they otherwise would not have represented, and universities have had their funding revoked. Standing up to an authoritarian regime comes with a very heavy risk to our lives and our freedoms. I have no illusion about that. And I understand that many of you might be scared today. But I have a message for you. Fear is an opportunity for courage to exist. And now is the time for us to be as bold and as courageous as we have ever been. We must walk a very courageous path that our ancestors and our elders have been forced to walk on many times. They walked this path when they marched across that Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma. They walked this path when they risked lives escaping slave catchers in the Underground Railroad. They walked this path despite having their houses bombed, their bodies incarcerated, and their freedom fighters killed. They walked this courageous path of freedom, and most importantly, they won. We find ourselves at yet another opportunity to follow in their footsteps and to win again. Remember, fear is a call to action, and we must rise to answer it. We rise up to recognize that these degrees don't solely belong to us. They belong to our clients, the communities we serve, and the future generations to whom we owe a duty of courage. We rise. We rise up to recognize that in the face of injustice, we do not back down. We do not bend the knee. We do not buckle. We do not yield. The forces against us may be strong, but we must be stronger. We rise. We rise up and recognize that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. No attacks on our freedom of speech shall prosper. No deportation raids or threats to be sent to a foreign concentration camp shall prosper. We rise. We rise up and remember that Dr. King once said, "The moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice." And as lawyers, we are in a unique position to bend it. Class of 2025, I love you.